Hey, all you cool cats and kittens. It is your boy, Crypto Bobby, joined by my partner in crime here at Proof of Talent, Colton. What's up, brother?
What's going on, Rob?
To kick things off, you had an awful take that Tiger King wasn't good. And for anybody sitting at home right now in quarantine or just not going out, you're by yourself, you're with your significant other, burn 7 hours of your life on Tiger King, and you will not regret it. And Colton is a liar. So,
I was just waiting for the big, the big crime, the big murder, and it just never happened. After every episode, I was like, okay, it's gonna be the next one. It's gonna be the next one. It never happened.
for that, there's so many gems in that show. So many gems.
I mean, the
Just
characters are
from
nuts.
Carol 100% killing her husband to actually no, she did not.
Right.
That was not a, she maybe possibly, it's definitely possible, but did not. I don't want Craig Wright coming after me, or just the crazy people in that show. Man, it was something special. But yeah, there's obviously a lot of other things going on in the world besides Tiger King. But if you're looking for a little distraction, that's a way to go. But I think we can just kick off this week's episode with something else that got a ton of buzz that was not on Netflix, and that was CoinMarketCap's acquisition. And unless you were living under a rock on crypto Twitter or on CoinDesk or wherever, I think the block actually broke this news, and it is that Binance is buying CoinMarketCap for $400 million. And there was a ton of people that were basically like either ripping the acquisition or being like, haha, why'd you spend $400 million on CoinMarketCap? But I think my first thought on this is that good for the dude that started CoinMarketCap, because while CoinMarketCap has its issues, like there is fake volume galore as far as like actually tracking. If you're like a professional trader and you want like actual data to track, using CoinMarketCap would be like just suicide. But it was started by a dude in his apartment that was in not so far from me. He was in Queens, Long Island City, Queens. Started CoinMarketCap there, completely bootstrapped, and now exited for $400 million after bringing in, I think it was rumored to be like, I don't know, it was like $30 to $60 million a year, something in that range. So good for that dude, first of all.
Yeah, that's a big win. Big win for that guy. Shout out to that guy. I'm sure he's going to buy an island somewhere. But I mean, overall, a lot of chatter on Twitter on this. Me personally, I don't know. Maybe from a big macro perspective for the space, it's good when companies, acquire companies like this. You'd think it'd be a good thing. I don't know. Personally, I don't think it's great. No disrespect to Binance, but I don't think it's great just because, CoinMarketCap, a good kind of a middle of the road independent listing site. And when you have a company or an exchange like Binance, you worry about them, having their biases attached to that website now. So, that's my first thought. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the concern for a lot of people. Number one is like Binance wielding like unnecessary influence. I mean, Binance is also, already super huge. I think the one thing that's kind of interesting though, when you look at it, because people are like, why would Binance spend $400 million on a site that they could probably build themselves fairly easily, or acquire a different, smaller site that is probably better? Like there are, I think one could definitely say there are multiple sites, at least off the top of my head. Like I like Masari on Chain FX better than CoinMarketCap. CoinGecko can be better than CoinMarketCap in a lot of respects. Nomics can be better than CoinMarketCap. Coinmetrics.
Yep.
There are like multiple data providers out there that are, I think, trusted by professional investors. So why would Binance do this? I think the big thing is just SEO and like brand value, even though a lot of people don't like it. But like when you think about CoinMarketCap, if you're a retail trader, where's the first place you're going to go? CoinMarketCap. Like where is the place of discovery for cryptocurrency? What it serves a simple purpose. Is the number going up or is the number going down?
Yeah.
And their SEO and the amount of traffic they get, I'm sure Binance is smart enough to convert that and have that acquisition at some point in time pay for itself, which I think is kind of the big thing.
Yeah, it was like over 200 million, I think, visitors on the site in the last 6 months. It was Larry Cermak put out a tweet on that.
Yeah.
That's huge. And even back in 2017, during the massive bull run, everybody was going to CoinMarketCap. Like that's where you found if
Little
number was
cap gems,
going up.
baby.
Yeah, yeah, right. So I think that's huge. And like I said, I mean, CZ, he's commonly known as pretty big shill for BNB and just kind of Binance products. And sometimes it comes off a little bit biased, but overall, I'll be interested to see how that transition goes in the next couple of weeks and months.
Yeah, totally. And I think segueing off that too, I mean, this was, I think, tied for the largest acquisition so far in the crypto world. And when we're looking at M&A right now, mergers and acquisitions, it's going to be interesting to see how a lot of this stuff starts panning out. This is $400 million. I think Poloniex was $400 million. That did not turn out very well for Circle at all. Will this be something that turns out well? I think Poloniex was clearly on the downturn when Circle bought it. And had to kind of sell it later for pennies on the dollar. But going to that point, there was an article recently, I'll post it in the YouTube and podcast description, but talked about VC activity in the crypto world. And it was called Open for Business. And I thought it was a really solid discussion, solid article on just what's happening in the crypto space right now, specifically around being business as usual. A lot of people, a lot of VCs in the crypto world are talking about, it's business as usual. It's fine. But somebody from a venture firm kind of broke down the numbers. And while you actually saw the amount of funds raised was pretty high in Q1 of 2020. So last quarter, number one, we'll see what happens in the next quarter that started today, April 1st. But you saw what you might consider like a flight to mid-stage or later stage companies and a flight to quality. The number of seed round fundings was down was down super hard. In 2018, there were 138 seed investments. In 2019, it was 99. So far in 2020 and in Q1, it was 34. And if you look again at Series A, it was 33 in 2019. So far in 2020, it's only 20. So you're starting to see kind of a flight to these larger stage companies, because if you look at the Series B investments, 2018 there was only 6, 2019 there were 6. So far in 2020, you have 11. Which is kind of interesting, because I think it also might lend itself a little bit to the M&A kind of side of the house, where you're having these smaller companies that are going to be struggling to raise rounds. And you might start seeing some consolidation by these larger companies that actually have the cash, like the Binances of the world, the Coinbases of the world. And it'll be interesting to watch this all pan out.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, let's break this down a little bit, like what the implications might be. So it sounds like from the data, VCs are being more selective on the early stage, Series A or seed round stuff. They're not really taking as many chances. So what does that mean for these startups that are in the early stage, that they may have great products, great teams? What does that mean for them? That means they really got to focus on their products and not just push something out that's good. They got to push something out that's great to attract the right VCs, which ultimately I think is really bullish for the space. I think the strong will survive, in that sense. And going back to, I think this could be like the final weeding out of the 2017 scammers that didn't have great products. They raised a ton of money. I think 3 years later they burned through a ton of cash, and they're not going to have the runway to make it through a time period like this. And hopefully that means that the good products, the good companies, the good teams will survive.
Yeah, there's definitely a concentration of quality right now, and I think you're seeing that. And it's also, I think people are realizing that doing an ICO for like Banana Coin is not something that's worth angel or seed round investments, and you're starting to see like less. You're seeing less early stage. You're seeing less companies that are being founded in the space, quite frankly. I think because either people have gotten somewhat disillusioned with the space, or they realize maybe there's only so many ways that they can actually make money in the industry, or that like the big decentralized dreams that they might have had might not be panning out. So I think you're seeing less early stage entrepreneurs kind of getting into the fold. But then I think what's also going to be really interesting is kind of like you said, some of the holdovers from the 2017 timeframe, but also the companies that maybe raised a Series A and are trying to kind of get to that next round. Those companies are really going to have to prove that they're capable of bringing on customers and creating a good product. Otherwise, those folks are probably going to be spinning their wheels trying to raise another round. So it's going to be, I think it could be tough sledding for those types of companies as the crypto world, I think, gets smarter about what's possible, but also as basically the entire world has stopped spinning in March and what looks like April as well.
Yeah. And they're gonna have to get creative too with when it comes to selling. I want to use an example. Ryan Selkis was on Twitter yesterday. I think he kind of used the Binance and CoinMarketCap acquisition as this kind of mini PR opportunity and for himself and for Masari. So he quote tweeted the headline and tweeted at Brian Armstrong, and he was like, "Hey, you up?" and then I think some anonymous Twitter account tagged like the CEO of Bitfinex and BitMEX, Arthur Hayes, and then someone else tagged Jesse Powell. And so in 5 minutes, you had all three of these CEOs in the same tagline or in the same thread. And then Ryan was like, "Hey, I've got this company here, a data company. Who wants to chat?" And then sure enough, the CEO of Bitfinex, Paolo Adrino, he got back to me. He was like, "Hey, just followed you. Hit me up on a DM." Like that's creative, and that's cool.
Well, we'll see how that all pans out. But
right, it's still like I thought it was funny.
Bitfinex is always known as the center of transparency and data.
right.
73 cents on the dollar or whatever. But I mean, looking at kind of how the world is moving right now too, we figured we're gonna start introducing some new segments on the show, especially now that it's not just me talking, which is great. I love it. Love not just talking to the camera. As much as I love the sound of my own voice, it's fantastic not to have to do that. And just with that, like, I think one of the first segments we're doing, I mean, I'm in New York, Colton's in San Francisco. We're basically both stuck in isolation for, I think, until eternity at this point in time. Although luckily, I think on the bright side, Proof of Talent is a desk job and we can do it completely remotely. So all the complaints are the definition of first world problems. Like there's no greater definition right now of first world problems than being stuck inside, and your sacrifices is having to watch Tiger King on Saturday for 7 hours a day, which I'm not complaining about. It was great. I love it. So our first segment is going to be first world problems, and it's just, what do you miss most during quarantine? And there's a couple things that are coming up, and this might have to be a weekly occurrence because there's a lot that's going on right now. And if this was September and we were here, I would be saying the NFL and the Jets breaking my heart on Sunday would be what I'd miss most. But hopefully this will all be sorted out by then. If not, we're in trouble. But right now, I think what I miss most, or what I'm going to be missing most, is just being able to get a haircut, because I'm wearing a hat right now for a reason. My hair is getting out of control. My girlfriend wants to cut my hair. I don't trust that. I think I'd rather just turn it into an afro. So I think that's where we're going to be at this point in time. But I am very much missing the option to actually have a professional haircut at any point in time. It's just out the window.
Yeah, I'd pay for a Supercuts haircut right now. I would. I'd pay good money for that. But I don't even have clippers here.
I would not.
So I don't have clippers. Like I can't, like actual good hair clippers. It wouldn't be pretty. So I'm growing it out. I'm letting it flow. Okay. I'm just gonna let the beard roll too. Just grow it out.
I have hair clippers from the beard. I bought like $75 razor and brought the beard down a little bit because it was getting a little bit bushy, and now my hair is like, oh my god. So it's yeah. I mean, if you're at home right now, if you're on YouTube, if you're on Twitter, or listening on the podcast, let us know what you're missing the most during quarantine, first world problems, because obviously there are second and third world problems that are a lot steeper than not being able to get a haircut.
True.
But yeah, let me know what you're missing most. I mean, there's a lot to miss right now being stuck inside, but you know what, life goes on, and we're here.
We're here. First world problems. We're complaining. I think my biggest one is a cold draft beer from a divey bar. You know, I mean, there's something about it. Just, I don't know if it's the ambiance or whatever. I miss it. You know, I have to settle for a bottled beer, or maybe a Bud Light or something. But
that's what we're doing right now. Well, that's what I'm doing. It's
still 3:30.
Yeah, still got time left.
But I miss. Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting back out there having a nice cold beer.
Yeah, it's gonna be. I'm gonna be super pumped by the time that happens.
First,
I have to buy a kegerator before then.
Not a bad idea.
No. But getting back to the world of crypto now. March, it's April 1st right now. I don't want to see your toilet paper coin April Fool's jokes. I'm sorry, I don't care. But March was a big month in just the regular markets, in the crypto markets in general. My 401k, it hurts. It hurts really bad. I don't like looking at it, but looking at crypto, obviously the big day or the big time this month was kind of early mid-March, when BitMEX just went kaboom, and you saw some really strong, I think, shakiness at the core of the crypto markets, and you kind of see how fragile everything is in times of increased volatility, when we have markets that aren't like the New York Stock Exchange that have circuit breakers when you go down 7%, right? Mm-hmm. And you got to see what happens there and just kind of the overall panic. But on the flip side, we've also seen Coinbase come out with some interesting research recently about massive influxes in the actual fiat and crypto deposits on the site. As far as like the crypto deposits go, I don't really know. I don't know what to kind of think about that, because that could be somebody sending in their big, like, let's say, they said they had $1.3 billion in crypto that came into the site during was it Black Thursday or whatever we're calling it at this point in time.
The great liquidation.
Yes. The great death of BitMEX, whatever it was. But, $1.3 billion in crypto and fiat were deposited, which was like 5x what it was daily. And that sounds awesome at surface level. And I thought, like, oh my God, that's crazy. That's awesome. People are buying the dip. But at the same point in time, that could very much be somebody taking Bitcoin from their ledger and sending that to Coinbase, being like, holy hell, the world's ending. I need to sell. On the flip side, I used Cash App and bought a good amount of Bitcoin at like 5,500. And I also was super lucky and snagged some that day at like 4,800 that I'm just still going to hold on to for dear life. But that was, I think the research that Coinbase published was pretty interesting.
Yeah, definitely. The way they positioned it, it sounds like they think that the retail really stepped up and bought the dip. If you talk to serious traders, they'll probably say retail doesn't ever move markets, which, I pretty much agree with. It's mostly whales moving the market around in crypto. But I will say, I think the implications of that are 60% of those orders typically on a daily average, I think, are buy orders for Coinbase, and that was up to about 60% of orders were buy orders. In those couple of days, it was an increase there, and I think the core, like, kind of hodler mentality, a lot of the people that are in crypto, I think they bought the dip. I think it's simple as that. So it'll be interesting to see if the money kind of went from weak hands to strong hands in that big liquidation, and if the market's ready to move in an upward direction now after a little bit of consolidation here in these last couple of weeks.
Yeah, so I have like a couple, I guess, different thoughts too, because I feel like retail in general, like, if you are still in crypto right now as a, like, quote unquote retail trader or a retail holder, you the majority of those folks, I'm sure, got in 2017, maybe early 2018. And you've been holding through, like, thick and thin for 2+ years at this point, like close to 3 years. In some cases 3+ years for the people that are earlier, but like, you've seen it all. You've seen the 80% drop downs. You've seen the down 50% days. You've seen the up days, but like, those types of people, I have a hard time seeing them really capitulating at this point.
Right.
I mean, if we all of a sudden drop from $6,000 to $1,000, yeah, I think there will be kind of a new fresh round of capitulation. But like, you have I think a pretty hardened group of holders. It's what happens, I think, on the like the quote unquote institutional or professional investor side, that you know there are many people that are running to cash right now, and it's still hilarious to me that the U.S. is printing so much money, and all these central banks are printing so much money, but like the safest place to be is still cash. Like, no matter what you want to say about inflation or just devaluing currency, that's where investors want to be right now. They're
Right.
selling Bitcoin to get to cash, or to Tether or whatever, but they're selling Bitcoin to get to cash. They're selling stocks to get to cash. They're selling bonds to get to cash. They're selling treasuries to get. It's like everything is just, or at least in March so far, and I think we'll probably continue to see that maybe in April, because I think the worst is yet to come in the United States for the whole coronavirus situation. So
Yeah, I agree. It's funny. Cash is still king, and that hasn't changed, and we're seeing that play out in all markets. And Bitcoin is not, immune to that. But I will say, I'm impressed with the amount of buy pressure, and there was on March 12th and 13th, the following days. Also, to end the month, we ended the month yesterday, and there was I think the monthly candle closed above 6,400, which a lot of people would say that was a bullish close to the month. So to think that we went down to 3,800 at the low, and then a couple weeks later finish above 6,400, I mean, that's a lot of buying pressure.
yeah, 100%. And I mean, it'll be interesting to see how like all the stimulus kind of plays out and plays into the market, because I don't think we've seen all of it yet. We've seen kind of the plans enacted, but we haven't seen them actually implemented yet. So there's talks about the stimulus checks, or in the U.S. it's whatever $1,200 a person one time, which isn't all that much. And places in Europe,
what are you gonna spend your $1,200 on?
I think you have to make under 75K. So. Don't want to brag, but
yeah.
Not
is that
brag,
combined with your spouse's salary, or?
I think it is. I actually don't know what the number is with your spouse.
Yeah, I don't know either.
But going to that too, I mean, on the stimulus, like the one thing that's kind of interesting right now, I mean, there's a bunch of things that are enacted for small businesses, proof of talent, small business. There is one of the big things is called the CARE Act, and there's this paycheck protection program, which is basically a forgivable loan that the government will provide you if you continue to pay your employees, which is kind of sweet, actually. So that's, I mean, there's a lot of people ripping all the stimulus stuff, but I'm looking at it and I'm like, you know what? If this can use me, if I can use this stuff and this helps me out, hey, why not check it out? Why not see what's happening? So, the government's going to give out free cash or interest-free loans, or basically interest-free loans.
Right.
I'll take some.
And thanks in advance for continuing to pay me, Rob. Appreciate that.
Yeah. The Colton payment payroll protection plan. So
basically,
but yeah, getting to that point too. So the crypto markets in general, obviously, Colton and I, it's our job to just keep an eye on just the news and what's happening in the industry. But I think for a lot of people too. So number one, obviously, Proof of Talent is a recruiting firm that works with companies in the blockchain and crypto industry. We work with like 20 different companies throughout the U.S., really just primarily U.S. based right now. But I think there's a lot of people that are interviewing for jobs. I spend a ton of time on LinkedIn for better or for worse. And you see a lot of layoffs, and I'm starting to see a lot of just really tough times for people. And so I think one of the kind of the finishing segments for us too is just doing a quick job interview tip as well. And this, I think is applicable for anybody that is interviewing for companies in the blockchain and crypto world, which is probably if you're listening, but also you might be listening and not actually work in the blockchain and crypto space, but maybe you got laid off, or maybe you're looking for a new gig. So yeah, figured we could just do this quick job interview tip, each of us. And, for me, the job interview tip that I would have, and this is something that like we always get feedback from hiring managers. That's what we do is we have job candidates, we hook them up with interview, basically hiring managers, and we always get feedback on both ends. And one thing that is one of the easiest things that you can do as a candidate if you're interviewing is just to go into an interview with like 5 questions beforehand. Just basic things. But go into an interview with questions about the job or about the company or about the role, about anything. Because you've been on a job interview 50+% of the time, you're going to get to the end of the interview and the interviewer is going to say, okay, do you have any questions for me? I can't tell you how many times somebody's just said, no, I think we covered it all. Like the worst thing you could possibly do when you're interviewing for a job is to just be like, no, I don't have any questions. Like it just shows that you're not that interested. And sometimes you are interested, but you just went through an hour-long interview and your brain's fried. The easiest thing you do, just have a notepad in front of you, especially because interviews now are probably going to be on Zoom. Just have it written down so you can say, okay, my brain is fried. This guy or gal just asked me a question, but I can just look down and be like, okay, like here are the questions that I had. And you can ask them and interact, and you're going to impress the person like 9 times out of 10, I would bet.
Yeah, not a lot of effort there. And it, like you said, it always comes up at the end of the interview. Another easy thing to do, and this kind of hopefully will go without saying, but do some research on the company, and not only the company, but the person that you're talking to. Check out their LinkedIn. And another helpful tip is connect with them on LinkedIn prior to the conversation. Send them a note. It's not creepy at all. Connect with them. So be like, hey, looking forward to a conversation later. Do a little research on them, understand where they came from. And same with the company, do a little research, just as far as, where the HQ is, what their product is. Maybe they offer a couple different products, and maybe a little bit about, how long the company's been around, just high level stuff. You don't have to be an expert by any means, but these little things are what hiring managers pick up on. And it's honestly what they dig into. That's what they want to know. They want to know if the effort is there. These are the things you can control.
Totally. Yeah, I think that's a great point. Like it's all about preparation. I mean, everything in life is preparation, but especially in a job interview, you can make your life so much easier, and you just sound so much more impressive to people when you go and prepare. Like your background cannot be great, but if you go in and you know your shit beforehand, people are going to think you're so much smarter than you actually are. And in the case of myself, when you're not that smart, you have to prepare, and then you're good to go.
Right. Oh, and there's another one with Zoom. A lot of Zoom interviews going on these days. You can in the settings on Zoom, there's a touch up button that you can toggle. You can check that box where it touches up your screen, enhances your color. For ugly guys like us, we can touch up our screens.
I'm not doing that right now, and I could probably use that. So
yeah, same. No, look at me. I'm touched up. Do I look touched up? I don't think so. But another little useful hack.
Yeah, that is true. But yeah, so I feel like we're gonna just in the future episodes, we're gonna finish off with these job interview tips, especially now. But for us, really, with these episodes, I think the big thing is we just want to touch on what's happening kind of in the week or in the day to day in the crypto world, just kind of overall topical things. But definitely want to tie things back to what we do day to day, which is running a recruiting firm in the blockchain and crypto industry. So yes, we obviously have a chance to see the macro of things, and we get a chance to work with a lot of companies, which is awesome, and we enjoy that. But we also get to look at the micro of different conversations with job seekers and hiring managers in the industry. And so hopefully that can provide just a unique perspective, because there's a lot of people that talk about number go up every day, and looking at golden crosses and just ridiculous things that, I don't know, it's in the long term, in the grand scheme of things, I don't think it makes that big of a difference. But when you have a chance to talk to, I think, unique people every single day like we do, it can lend kind of an interesting perspective. So hopefully we'll keep that rolling. If you're listening on YouTube, make sure to leave a comment as far as just your thoughts on the episode. And if you have any future ideas for segments or want us to touch on anything, but again, make sure to sound off on your first world problem. What do you miss most during quarantine? And if you're on Twitter too, or you're listening on the podcast, hit us up on Twitter. But yeah, it was great to be back for another episode. Colton, I appreciate the time, as always.
Absolutely. Looking forward to next week already.
Take it easy, everybody.